Welcome to the show, Alex.
What's up, man? How you been?
Good. Just been
Good.
keeping myself busy. How about yourself?
Yeah, definitely busy. That's for sure.
Good. This is
Yeah,
I think you're the first person that I'm having on here that I've smoked weed with.
yeah. Probably a few other things as well. I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. You know what? Yeah, you're the first person on here that I've smoked with and I've drank with and I've done coke with.
Yeah, yeah. Sounds about right.
Yeah.
And
So
possibly more.
I think those are the three I can think of. I
Yeah.
never I never did acid with you. So
No.
and I never did pills with you.
Uh,
Have I? You
that's questionable.
maybe I did, and I just don't remember because my brain is fried.
Yeah, I'm about the same, but I'm pretty sure I have a vague recollection of that.
Yeah, those days are a lot of blur for me.
Yeah, I feel you, man.
I mean, I remember them vividly, but at the same time, who I was with all the time is kind of a blur. I remember certain events in my
Yeah,
years, you know what I mean? Like there's certain things that I can pinpoint that I remember, but at the same time, it's still a little bit fuzzy because
yeah,
I went hard with opiates. So
yeah,
there's people they're like, no, taken pills with you. I'm like, really? Like I've taken pills with you? Um,
yeah. I got
what?
lucky. I got spared from that.
Yeah, man, that was a rough 10 years.
Yeah,
That was a
yeah.
rough 10.
I remember, I was selling the rock cassette things for a minute, and I remember doing them for a couple weeks straight, and I did a bunch at one time, and I vomited everywhere, and I think it saved my life, to be quite honest with you, because I never went back. I just couldn't. I hate vomiting, and for some reason it deterred me which was a blessing.
Yeah, because I definitely threw up and it didn't stop me any.
Yeah,
If anything, I learned lessons like, okay, don't do that many. You know what I
yeah,
like? I remember I threw up because I ate a ton of fives.
yeah,
And when I say a ton of fives, I mean like 35s.
yeah,
I couldn't find 30s, and I was used to doing 4 or 5 30s a day. So I figured, well, that's 150 milligrams.
yeah,
If I eat 35s, then I'll get the same feeling. But the problem is they weren't the Oxy IR fives; they were the Percocet fives that are filled with Tylenol. So they fucked up my stomach pretty good.
oh yeah, absolutely.
Um, what's your sober date?
It's I've had three, unfortunately, but coming up on 3 years. It's 10, 21, 21.
So what was going on 10, 20, and 21?
10, 20, and 21 was a it was a shit show, man. You know what? I had just celebrated 3 years. Um, I celebrated 3 years, but I'm an AA guy, but there's a lot of drugs in my story too, obviously, but you know, I was in this weird position where I didn't get in the book enough. I didn't have a lot of self knowledge. I stayed close to my sponsor at the time, was making about one meeting, and I was living a un an un AA life. Like I'm showing up to a meeting, and I'm doing those types of things, but I'm doing a lot of living dirty in other ways, and it caught up with me. Um, I'm still stealing from Lowe's just because. I don't know why. I'm like I said, I didn't really get too deep into the book. I stayed in these speaker meetings, and I was there for a big social experience for the most part. At least at that time, I had a great experience with the steps 3 years prior, and I got that relief that I was looking for. Um, but that was I made a couple choices that I had some consequences for, and I did what I did best. I went on this just just really strange 3-hour run of poor me bullshit, because I've destroyed my life of my own doing, and I'm, what else am I going to do but this pity party? And I and it was, it's funny. I went in the intentions of just drinking, just to get the relief, and just because fuck it, because I've already gone this far. And I kind of made like a promise to myself. Well, I'm not going to get coke because I'm too worried about it now, because it's laced with fentanyl and yada 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 and all this shit. Where am I in 1 hour? I'm 10 beers deep, and I'm in my old drug dealer's car. You know what I mean? Like it just takes me down every single time to the same thing. It's just does not discriminate.
So you had 3 years, and then so you would have 6 if it wasn't for that day.
Yes. Yep.
And you worked the steps once, and you were like, "That's all I need is a one and done."
I had a, they talk about like a white light experience sort of thing, and I think I kind of had something like that. It was, like I said, I had 3 sobriety dates. I had 8 months, and I kind of like talked myself back into the fact of maybe it wasn't so bad. Excuse me. It got me to this point where, I kind of thought it wasn't that bad, and maybe I would try this again. And it ended me up in the same spot. And prior to that, I was telling my sponsor, I'm still, that we get close to the weekend, and I'm like a clenched fist. I'm raring to go, man. Like I always say, like it's like if you ring a bell every single day, every time you feed a dog, that dog's going to expect to get to eat at that bell ring. We would come up onto the weekend, and my bell's going crazy, and I can't stop. I'm dying inside, and I'm telling my sponsor this, and I had gone through the steps, and I'm he's like, well, just keep waiting, just keep waiting, just keep doing what you're doing. Like, did you forget anything? Did you leave anything out? And I did it again. I went out. I'm gonna just drink, and where am I? I'm by 6 a.m. I'm laying on the couch, and I want to die again. Birds are chirping, and I'm coked out of my mind, debating on whether I'm going back to Camden. So I remember, just laying there and going, I talked to God. I said, God, why is this work for all these people around me? Why are they getting a year? Why do these people have all this time? And I'm dying inside. Like, please just help me with this. And I got some strange relief, man. God answered that day of that obsession. That's what it is the obsession was like released. And I don't know, like, I mean, it's going to sound strange, but even that 3-hour ordeal I had was like, there was zero joy. It's like that did go away. And it was even away for that, 3-hour ordeal I had. Like that was a miracle to me. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's, nothing else could stop me, and I think I just rode that feeling.
Yeah, I can see that though. I mean, my relapses were longer, and so I didn't get a chance to have like that moment of clarity. But at the end of my relapses, it was like, all right, I gotta like change shit around because this isn't working. You know what I mean? Like, I have 3 recovery dates too that I keep in mind that are important to me.
Mm-hmm.
April 25th, 2018 is the day that I've been from opiates.
Okay.
And it's important to me also because it's when I learned about recovery. It's when I learned about AA. It's when I learned about
Yeah.
NA. You know, when I started going to meetings, they say do 90 and 90. I literally did 250 and 90. And I'm not even exaggerating. There was so many meetings in Los Angeles where I got clean that
Mhm.
I could hit 3-4 meetings a day, and I did. On
Nice.
Saturdays, I did 4, like
Yeah.
noon, 8, 9, and 11. I went every day at noon, and I went every day at 11. And I would also go at 8 o'clock too, to whatever like speaker meeting I could hit at 8 o'clock. And I loved all the meetings I was going to. So April
Yeah.
25th is important to me because that's when I learned what recovery can be. And
Mhm.
then on month 13th, exactly 13, I went out and I bought a 6-pack of Twisted Tea.
Mm.
And you know how like they say in AA, an alcoholic has to finish every drop.
Mhm.
So my genius, I was thinking, well, I'll drink 4 and I'm going to pour the other 2 down the sink because an alcoholic can't pour drinks down the sink.
Yeah.
And only an alcoholic would bargain like that. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, only an alcoholic would think that way. And
Yeah.
I drank for 9 months, man. And it
Yeah.
wasn't like an overnight relapse where I was going hard the next day. But at the end of the 9 months, I was drinking a fifth of Jack a day.
Yeah.
It was that slow progression to like on the weekends. Next thing you know, well, it was a shitty Monday, so I'm going to drink. And I would take down a bottle of Jack and a 2-liter bottle of Coke to go with it. And that would be 3-4 nights a week. And then I woke up hungover. I'm getting up to my second date. I woke up hungover on Leap Day, February 29th, 2020. And I said to my wife, I was like, either we need to quit drinking or I need to drink right now. And she was like, well, I'll quit drinking with you. And she's an alcoholic and like of her own admission. I'm not outing her. She's been on my show
Sure.
multiple times talking about this.
Mhm.
And I was like, well, what's a better sober date than February 29th? We can only celebrate every 4 years.
Yeah.
So, so I still haven't had a drop of alcohol since that day. So I'm 6 years clean from opiates. I'm 4.5 years clean from alcohol. And then my technical sober date, clean date is April 1st because that's when I cut out benzos and weed.
You like April, man. That's
Man, spring's coming, changes are happening.
Yep.
It happened actually. The reason I got into rehab the first time, it was 4/20 of 2018, and I remember this because I was high and I was smoking and I was taking 30s. And by taking 30s, I mean snorting 30s, like one after another. I was doing like 8 to 10 a day, like something ridiculous like that. And I'm watching a documentary on Netflix called Legend of 420 because I figured it's a perfect day to watch this documentary.
Yeah.
And in the documentary, it had different segments about weed being a medicine. And one of the segments was about this rehab in Los Angeles called High Sobriety. And it teaches you how to use weed as a medicine and it helps people get off opiates.
Oh
And for
man.
the first time in 10 years, I said to myself, that's a rehab I would go to. And the next day, I was living in Manheim, Pennsylvania, like Lancaster County. So it was an hour and a half drive to go get pills. And I was doing that drive 5-6 times a week. And the next day was a Saturday, and I did my drive. I waited 8 hours for the plug to call me back. I finally see him. I only have enough for 3. I do 2 right away because I'm withdrawing. And I'm driving back on the PA Turnpike and I have 1 in my pocket. I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, this is insane. I just spent 10 hours for 1 pill, basically. And it was 8 o'clock at night. And as I'm driving, I Googled high sobriety and I called and the dude answered and he talked to me for 2 hours. And it was
Wow.
the first time someone's talked to me like they understood me. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? One of those
Oh yeah.
conversations. And he was like, I can get a bed for you by Wednesday if you can get out here. And I was like, all right, I'll see you Wednesday. Like by Monday, I was booking a flight and I took the first flight out Wednesday morning and shit was history since then. So like 420 saved my life that year
Yeah.
because I was going down a path, man. And now I can actually look back, and that's why I have those 3 important dates, because April 25th is always going to be important to me. Even if I take opiates again, April
Sure.
25th is when I learned what recovery is.
Hmm.
I learned if I fucked up, I can just show up back in AA and NA and start over again. These are my people.
Yep.
And now after my relapse, I do NA every day at noon. That's, I have an
Mhm.
NA sponsor. I have the workbook. I'm going through the steps. And
Nice.
the dude's based out of Providence, Rhode Island, where the meeting is based out of that I go to. My sponsor just celebrated 30 years today.
That's
So
awesome.
I got someone with some time looking after me.
That's great.
So I'm about to go through it's a workbook. Like, I've been through the steps in AA, and NA is much more intense. I had to get a workbook, and it
Huh.
breaks down all these questions you have to answer just in step 1. Like, it's 10 pages on step 1. So it's good for me. It's something that's different because I've been through the AA steps, and I
Sure.
did feel that, like, that weight off my shoulder. But obviously, shit's not right if I have to do this again. And I figured, why not do it with a different kind of program?
Hmm.
I do GA also. I do Gamblers Anonymous on the weekends.
Okay.
I found a meeting based out of Vegas that I do.
Nice.
I figured if anyone knows gambling recovery, it's people that are living in Vegas.
Yeah, for sure.
So
That's
that's
pretty
that's what
wild.
I do for that. Yeah, man. So I met you when we were like, I guess 18, 19, 20 years old, something around there.
Yeah, somewhere right in there.
Were you born and raised in South Jersey?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm born in Barrington and I'm living in Barrington now. I got a house over here now on the other side.
Oh, okay. And
Yeah.
that's the side my dad grew up on.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
Yep. So that my roots go to Barrington.
Yeah, cool, man.
Haynes Avenue is where my dad grew up.
Yeah,
Right by
right
the
around that corner.
yeah, you could see the police station from his front steps.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Um, so you're still in Barrington. Your
Hmm.
parents stay together?
No, no, my dad, I think he was, I don't know if you remember, he was in California.
Wait, what was that?
And
You cut.
no, I said my dad, he moved to California here.
Okay, now I can see you again. Your signal cut out for a second. Your dad moved to California?
Yeah, he had been in California, probably when I was, I want to say 15. He moved to California, and my mom's still in Barrington, same house. So yeah, they had split when I was 13.
You got any brothers, sisters, or you're an only child?
Only child.
That's got to be rough on you then when your parents split and your dad moves across the country.
Yeah, it wasn't easy, and but it was also, I was, kind of is what it is. I mean, I kind of felt, you know, I knew my parents weren't necessarily meant for each other, if that made sense, just to who they are. So I kind of accepted that pretty early. But yeah, it wasn't easy for him to not be there for crucial years. But me and my father's relationship's a lot different than most, probably. He's more of a friend figure than a father figure, and that was, it's just kind of how it rolls, and kind of still how it is.
Yeah.
I accept him for who he is, and that's all right.
What did you discover first, alcohol or drugs?
Uh, I still remember drinking my first 3 Coors Lights in the back of my dad's shop on Kings Highway.
Kings Highway.
I remember those, but I truly fell in love when I found cocaine, man. That was it, and that's been what I mean, the alcohol is right there with it. I mean, it's the dynamic duo. I mean, they make a chemical reaction that I love. That's what it it's what it boils down to. You know.
No, I'm well aware of that mixture.
Yeah.
I've experienced that mixture.
Yeah.
Um, And I was being dangerous with coke because I was mixing it with 30s
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Xanax, and I would do lines of all three back to back to back. So,
Yeah.
but I was at a point in my addiction to where I heard this in a meeting and it made a lot of sense to me. I didn't want to die, but I didn't want to be conscious anymore.
Yeah.
And that's about where I was. And I figured if I stop my heart, then it's done. And what way to do that is to basically do uppers and downers at the same time. And instead, I just got fucking super high and kept chasing that feeling.
Yeah. I mean, the suicide sort of stuff only crept in when I couldn't stop and I didn't know what was wrong with me. I feel like I'm a pretty strong-willed person. I've had a lot of stuff go on in my life, and I've done a lot of stuff in my life, on my own. But not having a solution for this was, and for what my life looked like at the time, that was a pretty low point. I definitely was, teetering.
When did you discover coke? How old were you?
17. I traded some kid for it, because I would sell uh, just about everything I could, and I traded him for something, and I brought it to my house, and one of my older friends showed me, what to do with it because I didn't even know. I just knew that my dad did it and liked it, and he had a problem with it at one point, and then he didn't anymore, and well, kind of, but I I did it then, and I didn't really get an effect off of it, and I did it again, and then once once it got me good. It's one of those ones it creeps, it crept in, and it crept in because I had gotten clean from it before, and that was, because I started doing it at 17. I think I stopped doing it at 25, 26, and I was just, drinking and smoking because of how bad the effect had been on me.
Yeah. Yeah, I knew. I mean, obviously, I knew that you smoked weed. I used to buy my weed from you.
Yeah.
And we used to smoke it all that I would buy it from you and then we would smoke it. I remember coming back from Canada with a bunch of people and we had a bunch of brand new pieces that we bought at a shop there, like at a head shop in Canada in Niagara Falls. And I called you at like 8 a.m. when we were just crossed the border. And I was
I
like,
think I remember this.
I was like, do you have bud? And you were like, I only got like a quarter left. And I was like, save that for me, please. I'm on my way. I got a bunch of brand new pieces. You can come over and smoke it with us, but I'll be home around 7 o'clock at night. And you were like, yep, I'll save it for you. And sure as shit, you did save it for us when you met us at the apartment when I lived over by Speedy Mart.
Yeah.
And we had new bongs, new bowls. I had a huge ass bowl that you could fit an entire eighth into. And we stood, I remember we stood like in a circle with everyone having a piece packed, and we just like passed it around the circle to everyone try the different pieces that we had picked up. And we went through
Yeah.
that quarter so fucking fast.
Yeah, you're jogging my memory there, man. I do remember this.
There was also a night where me, a friend, and you, we had just gotten an ounce of somebody else, and it was all shake. And the person we were with rolled it into one giant Dutchy blunt that was 26 grams. It was like four, too wide and too high.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He rolled it into one massive blunt. And we watched an entire movie, and the blunt was still going strong by the
Yeah.
because I had that
Oh,
surround
man.
sound. So we always watch movies in my apartment.
Yeah, yeah.
Set up.
No, I remember your place well, man.
But yeah, you were there often enough because I was always
Yeah.
we were either drinking or smoking or whatever.
Whatever. Yeah.
I got that place when I was 20 and I moved out when I was 22-ish, something like that. So I was there for a good 2 years. before I got evicted for non-payment.
Yeah.
By that time, I was on drugs. You know what I mean? Like I was on pills already.
Yeah.
I discovered pills when I was 22. I mean, I did pills in high school, but it was like here and there. You know, I would take some muscle relaxers before school and think that was cool, and I was doing pills. But I got into
Yeah.
30s and Percocet and oxys, and mostly oxys. I got into oxys right before my right after my 22nd birthday, and I was off to the races once I found that. Like I was looking for something different than alcohol. Like I'd went so hard drinking when I was 21 that by the time I was turning 22, it wasn't fun anymore.
Yeah.
And I went on a little bender. I did ecstasy a few times in a week, and then I did acid like 4 or 5 times in like a 2-week span. I took mushrooms for the first time, and none of them were like acid was great, but it was so few and far between to get it. And I had to take off work the next day, so it wasn't sustainable to do every day like drink. And
Yeah.
then I found oxys, and once I found oxys, I was like, this is what I've been missing.